the New York general attorney or a attorney general is going to bust in and take one of them with them or something. It was just kind of a funny thought process in my mind. It was just me. It was just me. All right, we're on time. We are dead to the minute on time. So anybody that speaks after I'm saying this that makes us go late, I'll make sure that everyone knows that that was you. And so anyway, moving on, we have Eleanor Terrett, journalist, Crypto in America host. Crypto in America host. Eleanor Terrett is a journalist and co-host of the Crypto in America podcast, focusing on digital asset regulation and policy. She began her career at Fox Business, where she worked as producer covering the New York Stock Exchange. Terrett is known for breaking major stories related to crypto policy and has established herself as a trusted source for timely, accurate reporting on the latest developments in the crypto space. And she's going to have a fireside chat with our own Stephen McClurg from our last episode here, which I did have you as the Mike Prince character. Also, did y'all notice there at the end, they had diverging opinions, and this guy over here owes that guy the burger for being wrong? So we're gonna go with this guy, right? Like everybody's going with this, okay. I just was, that's my introduction of you. I didn't mean to make you cough. Come on up here, let's go. Y'all can clap them up, that's good. Don't look back when you're going up the stairs. Okay. Then you trip and fall and I have to catch you. Oh, okay, all right. She was a gymnast. That wasn't on her bio.
Oh, man. Hi, everyone. All right. Steve, welcome back.
Hey, good to see you
again. Long
again.
time no see.
Yeah.
All right, get situated here. So, just give the audience a little briefing on how we know each other. I started covering the Bitcoin spot ETF launch in January of 2024, but it started a little bit before that, obviously, with the Grayscale lawsuit and when BlackRock got in. So I was at Fox Business for a number of years, and they started taking crypto kind of seriously when Wall Street got on board and Larry Fink started talking about Bitcoin and saying how great it was. So that's when Fox Business was like, oh, maybe we should cover this stuff. And I was introduced to Steve through a mutual friend, and yeah, we, it was an interesting process. We had you on Fox Business a few times, and that whole thing, if you guys remember, was just a roller coaster. Like James remembers, James Seyfert. We were, there was a hack at the SEC that said these crypto ETFs are approved, and it was the day before they were supposed to get approved, and it was this whole mess. But it was one of the greatest journeys of my life, in terms of coverage. So. Super exciting. Now there's going to be a Litecoin ETF, I'm told. We'll get all into that, and I know Steve just mentioned that. We just had a whole panel on it, basically. But I want to start with Steve's personal journey into crypto, because I think we've talked about it a little bit, you and I personally, but I don't know the whole story. I do know that you were at Guggenheim originally, which is a traditional finance investment firm, fixed income ETFs, I believe, right? And then on to Valkyrie, and then you just founded Canary Capital. So tell me about that journey and how you got into crypto. What sparked your interest in this space?
Yeah, I was originally a bond trader, and I actually got into ETFs a little bit later. Guggenheim decided to buy an ETF company, so I became the portfolio manager for all the ETFs that we bought alongside. I mean, I was managing portfolios for ETFs, for hedge funds, for direct insurance clients, and then even a couple of sovereign wealth funds. But it was mostly very esoteric esoteric fixed income instruments like asset-backed securities, emerging markets, sovereign credit. I was running actually emerging market and sovereign credit trading and analysis for a little while. And maybe back up just a little bit before that, I was in TradFi, and then I got out of it and got into the video game industry.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I went to work at Electronic Arts right before the financial crisis, just because I just wanted to do something different. I was bored, So I was on the strategy side doing M&A, and I guess my claim to fame at Electronic Arts was I launched the very first game on the iPhone. So wow. The iPhone came out during that time and helped strike a deal to do that. So I was involved in getting. I mean, I wasn't literally coding and building the game. I mean, I don't want to make it sound like I was, in the trenches doing that, but it was more on the planning strategy side of things and product management side. But so I saw this, kind of interesting shift that happened at just the right time. And I think if I hadn't have seen that, I would not have gotten into crypto as, like I did. But going back to Guggenheim, I remember my boss, a guy by the name of Scott Meinert, who was the CIO at the time, was like, "Who's heard of this Bitcoin thing?" And then he looks at me, he's like, "McClurg, you know tech. Why don't you look at it?" I was like, I don't know anything about Bitcoin. He goes, "Yeah, let's find out if it's something we should invest in." Anyway, I spent some time, this was back in 2010, some time looking into it, and I kind of came to the conclusion that it probably wasn't suitable for our clients at the end of the day, but decided that, if I'm wrong, I should buy some myself. So that's sort of how I first got into it. And then about 2016, I got really interested in blockchain itself and payments and remittances. Just coming from that background, analyzing emerging markets, and you see how much it costs to trade and move money around the world. And when I started seeing blockchain really developing and doing other things than just money, number go up, I just kind of simultaneously was really interested in helping to build that ecosystem, but also to me, 2016 was the top of the bond market, and I kind of identified that year as top of the bond market. I was trading in bonds with very tight spreads to treasuries. I mean, there was just nothing there. I mean, everything was under 3%. Kind of boring. So I left to go join a company building blockchain solutions. Ended up not working out for me because I'm an asset manager. I mean, what was I doing working for a tech company again? But I did end up building a company that got sold to Galaxy that helped become Galaxy Digital Asset Management. Right after that, launched Valkyrie. But I just really enjoy the investment side of crypto, just like I enjoyed running risk models, trading, making investment decisions around fixed income and even equities. Crypto is just as exciting to me, and it's a different model. It's something exciting. With Canary, kind of getting to where we are today, the thing that I actually enjoy the most, I mean, yeah, I do a lot of things in the ETF world because I've done it before and I know it, but the thing that I actually enjoy is running my hedge fund. Mm-hmm. So, I kind of developed a strategy that is similar to a strategy I ran in TradFi, where instead of equities, it's crypto, but hedging crypto risk and volatility risk with bonds, which is the other thing that I know. So I'm basically just doing the two things I know, crypto and bonds, and putting them together because I'm not really creative enough to do anything else.
What's behind the Canary name? I never asked you that. Is
So
it like Canary in the coal mine kind of thing?
Canary in the coal mine.
Okay.
So it was always like a thing that I've even before, even long ago, when I first got into investing, I always thought about the canary in the coal mine analogy because I was always more of on the risk management side of things, and I would say that my superpower in managing money is identifying risk and all kinds of different risk and some risks that you may not think of when you think about risk management. But like, for instance, we avoided FTX. A lot of people in the space lost money in FTX. Now they're getting it back. I think about things like, they're a counterparty. I need to understand the risk I have with this counterparty. Mm-hmm. Hey guys, can you, before we onboard with you, can you send me over your balance sheet and your financials? No, we can't. We're so busy. We can't do that.
Seems like a reasonable request.
Yeah, well, I ask that from everybody. BitGo gives it to me. Coinbase gives it to me. Gemini gives it to me. I mean, everybody reasonable will give you their financials when requested, when you're onboarding with a potential partner, potential risk partner. And FTX's second response was, well, if you want to work with us, you'll just do it. Everybody else does.
That's not a red flag. I don't know what is.
No red flags there.
Having built and led several companies now in your life, now moving in, from TradFi into crypto, I guess crypto is the most fast-changing industry there is, maybe aside from AI, but, it's just, there's the news cycle, obviously, for me is endless, but just like the space itself and now the regulatory clarity that we're seeing, we're coming off the last 4 years that was just, complete disaster for the industry. What's been the biggest thing you've learned, from leading, from a leadership perspective in this space that just seems to be changing every single day? There's arguably no sort of consistency, right? What's been the biggest lesson there for you as a leader, as a CEO?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to adjust. I mean, the last company I had, Valkyrie, I mean, when FTX collapsed and all this stuff was happening, I mean, it was really tough times. And I mean, a lot of people in the audience probably suffered the tough times as well. But you're like wondering if you want to make payroll next. It's like nobody wants to, I remember we were raising a round of capital that summer, and half our investors backed out after committing, and then we had a backup, a very large bank, through their VC arm, said, oh, you know what, we'll take that. And we're like, oh, thank God. And then they were going to make a big announcement on Friday, and then FTX collapsed on Sunday, so then they backed out. So I mean, that year was a rough year, and one of the lessons I learned from even that, right, is just, just take a much more conservative approach on things. Sometimes you get excited and want to grow too fast, but just take a more conservative approach. Know when there's opportunity, take advantage of that opportunity, and also know when to pull back and how quickly to pull back. So, I think we hit the cycle just right this year. Launching a new company this summer. One of the reasons I launched it was Charlie. I don't know if Charlie's in the room, but we sat down and had lunch. We were having a discussion and decided. I was like, all right, I think this is the right thing to do. I think it's good timing. And then and then you have like these series of events that happen, right? Like you know that you're going to battle regulators, and all of a sudden and then you have presidential polls favoring the same administration, and then Trump gets shot, and I'm like, oh, there we go. I think the world just changed. Trump's getting elected. Change of administration, change of SEC. Like those are the things that going through my head, and I was like, all right, let's go. Let's start filing some ETFs because that's a call option on Trump winning, and sure enough, it worked out. It was sort of like right place, right time, take advantage of the situation.
Yeah.
And that's what we did.
I want to go back quickly to March of last year. You guys in this room might remember I hadn't really been, I'd covered XRP a lot because of the Ripple SEC case, which actually got me into crypto reporting in the first place. And then with the Bitcoin spot ETFs, it's kind of covered more of Bitcoin. But with Litecoin, I tweeted in March of last year that there were institutional rumblings about, I could read you the tweet, but I'll just summarize it. Basically, institutions are thinking about Litecoin because of its functional similarities to Bitcoin. The SEC might approve it even before ETH, and now, obviously, we did not see that last year. But Steve, you became the first institution to file for Litecoin ETF. Was it the first out of Canary? Was it Litecoin? Was that the first filing that you guys?
I think it was.
I know there's a lot. He has to keep track of a lot of filings because there's probably more than 10 at this point. But
I'm a big troll, so so we filed about 10 of them. Just trying to get out there. And be like, well, what about this one? Well, what about this one? Well, what about this one?
I want to ask you about your strategy about that in a second. But why are you so bullish on Litecoin?
Well, again, I mean, it really had to do with the former administration. I mean, the reasoning was really simple. I mean, Gary Gensler. You say what you want about him, but I actually like him. Okay, and I know.
Ooh.
Yeah, I know.
This is being recorded, Steve.
I know. No, I like him, and he's just one of these no nonsense guys that says exactly what he means and means what he says. And so I remember back when we had filed for Bitcoin ETFs, and then we tried to get cute, and we filed for a 33 Act Bitcoin futures ETF. And we put that out there, and then he said in a speech that probably the protections under the 40 Act would work. And what he was saying is like, if you file for a 40 Act, it's going to work. So we filed for it, and it got approved, right? I mean, and then he had another speech where he said Bitcoin, Litecoin, and ETH are not securities. Well, okay. Under that, I mean, he means what he says. He really is no nonsense. And I actually think that he is pro-crypto. I actually don't think. I know he's pro-crypto. It had more to do with Senate oversight than what he was actually trying to do. So if you want to, yeah, it's political. It all came from Elizabeth Warren, and if you want to hate somebody, hate her and her anti-crypto army. But no, Gensler, I think, is just, I mean, he's no nonsense. He did his job. He did the job that he was supposed to do. He sort of reports to the to the Senate, and he did that properly. But that was really the main reason. And my justification was, look, regardless of who's the next president, regardless of who's the next SEC chair, Litecoin should get approved over anything else.
Why?
Because of the way that it was created. A lot of people say, well, it's essentially a fork of Bitcoin. It's not really a fork of Bitcoin. It was just, the code was just copied. It was reverse engineered. But it was created in the same way. There was no pre-mining. It's all a fair game in no way that it could be conceived as a security in any way whatsoever.
It's often called the silver to Bitcoin's gold, is that correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you're confident that you think Litecoin will be the next alt single ETF to be approved by the SEC?
Confident, no, but I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
How are those conversations going?
I can't really talk a whole lot about, that kind of thing, but
no, I'm trying to make you.
I know, you're a good journalist. But no, look, as soon as we filed it, we got a positive response. And, I'll just say that we got a positive response. A lot of people speculated that when we filed an amended, S1 that there was conversations, and maybe there were, maybe there weren't. But we did make some amendments.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I want to go back to your strategy on your sort of, what's the term I'm looking for? Like throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks ETF approach. I could name probably 5 off the top of my head. You've applied for, obviously, Litecoin, XRP, Solana, Doge, Hedera, Staked Tron, I think was the most recent one. Can you talk about your strategy there?
Yeah.
It's no secret that these funds are expensive to maintain. What's your strategy when it comes to long-term sustainability and also value for these investors?
Yeah. Well, so when Bitcoin was launched, what the SEC did was group everybody together. It was sort of a non-fair race, and so those of us at the time, Valkyrie and Van Eck, we were the first ones to file, and then a few other people joined in later. We should have been first, right? And there is a first mover advantage in ETFs by far. But the way that they kind of lumped them together to give BlackRock and Fidelity a leg up wasn't great. I think under the new administration, we're going to go back to the fair process that awards those that are first to market, those that are innovators, those that are emerging managers, and because you don't get innovation unless you reward innovation, and usually you go in order. As a matter of fact, we are in the process of putting together a letter ourselves and several other crypto ETF issuers to the current SEC saying, look, you guys need to make sure you go back to that, or else you're not going to get the kind of innovation you want.
Is that a scoop?
Maybe.
Okay. We'll talk after.
Talk after, but a lot of us have privately communicated that, but I think we're gonna be a little bit more strong on that, and so under that process, my idea is if we file the top 10 tokens that I think have the most demand before anybody else does, then we potentially can be first and have that first mover advantage. That is the goal. Our team at this point, we've been a lot of us have been doing it for decades, some of us for years, but we've got a formula. We can do this very quickly. Whereas if you work for a bigger company like a BlackRock or even kind of a mid-sized company, it's like, well, I got to get my supervisor to approve it, and
right.
It's like rubber stamp all the way up, and then before you do anything, we can move super quickly because we've got a small nimble team that's been doing this for years, and we can crank these things and put them out there and get that first mover advantage on the ones that we believe in.
Mm-hmm. So the goal of Canary, I think, essentially is to provide that first mover advantage, but to institutions, to these coins that maybe aren't the most top 10, top 15, but maybe the ones that aren't the most advertised, right? You know, fund managers often talk about Bitcoin, Litecoin, ETH, but everything beyond that, you're trying to bring them or show them the value, I guess, of some of these other coins that are maybe a bit underrepresented in the media, a little bit less understood.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. I mean, a lot of the ones that we filed for are very popular. They have strong, like one of the requirements is strong communities, right? Like Litecoin has a strong community. HBAR is like, wait, where did that one come from? What's the HBAR?
Yeah.
Well, HBAR actually has a very strong community, and it's not your typical crypto community. It's a bunch of engineers that work at like Dell and IBM. You know, like those are the type of people that follow HBAR. You're not going to find them at a Bitcoin conference or at Consensus. You're going to find them at like, you know, I don't know, like some other nerd conferences, but that's kind of where it's going to be. And but it's a strong community. Same thing. XRP has a strong community. Solana has a strong community. SWI, which is another one filed for, strong community. I mean, that is the common thread,
Right.
and that's super important to us.
How is that sort of, you've seen the transition from, you know, TradFi being pretty arm's length with crypto. You were obviously an early mover, you were an early visionary, you kind of saw where the tides were going. Now you come to all these crypto conferences, right? Bitcoin, Litecoin, XRP, and all of a sudden there's suits here. Like, oh my goodness, there's fund managers, there's institutions, and they're all of a sudden so interested. Like, how is that, you know, is it kind of like for you, like a I told you so moment?
I mean,
I was right.
Do you consider me a suit? I don't
No,
know.
not a suit, but like as someone who came from TradFi and like, you know, you're like a semi-suit.
Semi-suit. I'm a semi-suit. Yeah.
Has that kind of been a
Yeah.
cool thing to see?
Or
you're just like, no.
I kind of hate the suits. Like I'm kind of like somewhere between a libertarian and an anarchist. So I like just the anti-suit, you know, type environment. When the suits come in, it's like, you know, things start getting, you know, a little.
The government. What about the government's involvement? I mean, literally, Bitcoin has been full of senators and regulators, and I mean, someone who came into crypto in 2021, like I did, you know, the vision of Bitcoin was always, and Litecoin and all the other cryptos was, you know, less government involvement, more peer-to-peer, less oversight. You know, now we've got Washington, Donald Trump. It's not just Wall Street; it's literally Washington too. Now, what a shift that's been.
I mean, it has been quite a shift. I mean, we literally were like looking at other countries to live in and do business in and not go to jail because we were involved in crypto and somehow.
Yeah.
And now it's like it's embraced. It's a little weird. I actually, you know, I mean, I said it earlier. I mean, I like working in you know outside the norms of reality a little bit more. You know, I like being the rebel. That is doing something that, you know, the government or society is not doing, and that was kind of my draw to crypto originally.
Right.
And now it's sort of like, well, if the government's all in on it, I mean, maybe there's something wrong here.
Yeah, yeah.
But no, it all has to do with making money, right? I mean, I think people are seeing that. Oh yeah, this is another avenue where I can, you know, make a profit, where I can make money, and that's really all it is. It hasn't bothered me as much, actually.
Yeah, I guess politics is, Washington is all about raising money, and there's a lot of, you know, there's a lot of criticism about like whole fair shake's involvement, and obviously crypto raising all this money to get a voice. But when you're persecuted for 4+ years, you feel like you have to move out of the country, and then, you know, all of a sudden it's like, okay, J.D. Vance said this yesterday, you know, you guys work together to make this a reality, to have your voices heard. So it's quite a grassrootsy movement. It helps that crypto obviously has a lot of money when the price is up. But yeah, I don't know. What else do you want to talk about?
I don't know. What do you want to talk? I mean, you know.
We got 5 minutes left.
Well, do you want to talk about the top of the market? I mean, you know.
Sure. Yes. Let's do that.
Raise your hand. Who in here thinks we're at the top of the market right now? Am I the only one?
Do you really?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, probably Thursday was probably the top for Bitcoin. I don't know.
Well, just because it's going to regress and then it's going to hit another all-time high in like what? 2 months?
I hope we hit another all-time high, but I think there's a decent chance that we hit an all-time high on Thursday for the cycle.
Okay.
I'm a little concerned about. I mean, if you just look at the data from a broad economic standpoint, flight bookings are down, restaurant bookings are down, credit card delinquencies are at as high as it was in 2009.
That's wild.
Auto delinquencies as high as it was in 2009. Student loan delinquencies just spiked back to 2009 levels. The only thing that's not at 2009 levels is home equity line of credits. Those are still low. But you have to remember that pre-2009, there was a lot of really funky home equity lines out there that shouldn't have been issued anyway, and that got kind of cleaned up in the last one. So that's really the only data point that isn't pointing to either a recession or a deep credit crunch. So
What are you chalking that up to? Is that tariff freak out? Is that
last 4 years of high inflation over government spending?
Overspending, yeah.
Yeah. And, I think, and if you look at the markets where, people that are investing, only 10% of Americans are actually investing right now. 90% can't afford to. So there is a dichotomy right now. So I'm worried that there's just not a lot of, and then if you look at volume on exchanges, even in traditional equities, volume is very low among retail audiences because there's just not a lot of cash sloshing around. So yeah, I'm worried that not only are we hitting a crypto top of an economic cycle, which happens every 4 years. It's 4 years. Let's just be real. Is it going to happen in May, or is it going to happen in September or October? Last cycle was October, or is it, do we have a few more months or not? But that coinciding with a broad economic cycle top is pretty concerning, and I don't know what's going to happen. So we're watching it very closely.
Yeah, I keep seeing polymarket predictions saying, will Bitcoin go past 150, or will it more likely go down under 60? And I'm seeing more and more it'll go down under 60. That's a big drop from where we are today.
Yeah, it's a big drop.
It's kind of scary if you think about it. I mean, you think about the companies that are putting Bitcoin in their treasuries now. What's your take on that? What's your take on companies putting Bitcoin and other crypto assets in their holdings? It's a trend.
I don't know. I think anytime that you leverage up your balance sheet multiple turns to buy more Bitcoin, I mean, nothing went wrong when Celsius and BlockFi and all of those other guys did it. So what could go wrong this time?
So
maybe we have another FTX moment with one of these. Maybe we don't.
Yeah.
I do think there's some risk, but anytime I hear people state that there's only upside and no downside in this, then that's also a red flag.
I think a lot of people who say that actually have a vested interest. And
Yeah,
I
that's
think
right.
you and I we both know who we're talking about.
Yeah.
I do want to just get to the news actually that happened today. So the House Financial Services Committee and the House Agriculture Committee just dropped their text of the market structure bill. So there was a discussion draft earlier this month. They just dropped the actual bill text. I believe it's called Clarity Act, which is pretty apt. So that'll be an interesting read. Probably be up late reading that tonight. But I mean, what are you watching closely for out of I guess between Congress, the White House, and the SEC? I mean, kind of what are your biggest green signals for this year?
I wanted to see deeper tax cuts. I mean, all we really got was an extension of previous tax cuts, so it didn't go any further. I mean, I like the fact that tips aren't taxed. As somebody who put himself through college as a waiter and bartender, I was like, man, I wish they would have done that then, but okay, whatever. But I think I actually think that was really important, and I told everybody that works at Canary that we won't be receiving annual bonuses this year. We'll be receiving annual tips. So, but no, outside of that, I did want to see more aggressive tax cuts. I just think I think I think anybody making probably under $80,000 a year in the U.S. is really under strain from inflation, and I really wanted to see more significant tax cuts for those tiers, and we didn't get them. But I think that would have been really important, and so it actually makes me believe that recession is still coming.
So you're a big bear, basically.
I'm a big bear right now. Yeah.
You're pooping on the party.
I am. Sorry.
It's just I come away from these conferences and there's so much optimism, and then it's like I come and talk to you, and it's like, all right, well, I might as well go home.
Yeah. Well, I was actually over at the Bitcoin conference yesterday, and I was sitting at a table with a bunch of people, and they're all giving their predictions for all-time highs and 250, 180, and all this, and they got over to me, and they were like, "What's your prediction for all-time high?" I was like, "Oh, last Thursday."
Last question. What can we expect out of Canary next? What kind of filing? Which filing?
Oh, I can't even say that. You know that. But
Give me
what
a
I,
clue.
what I would expect out of Canary next is
Yeah, maybe not specifics, but
launching of ETFs this year, and that's really where we're going to
okay.
hopefully,
Yep,
you know, like James said, crazier things have happened. I'm not giving it 100%, but like I'm giving a pretty good chance.
Will we get a fart coin?
Never from me.
Oh,
Never
you heard
from
it
me.
here first. Steve, thank you.
Thank you.
Great job, great job, great job.